You know, as I find I write more and more of Uplift Protocol, I do immensely enjoy the balance of like this is a more serious moment versus hey, here's a bunch of corny lighthearted moments. So so while Uplift Protocol doesn't have as much a little bit more risque things, kind of like a yeah, irresponsible Captain Tyler does have a little bit more risque moments, like a little bit of fan servicey things. Me personally, if I do put something fan servicey in for Uplift Protocol, it'll be more like a kind of like tongue in cheek, like when Star was saying like, "Oh look, my parents are giving each other googly eyes. Like I'm gonna get more siblings, aren't I?" It's basically yeah. At best, I'll go maybe PG-13 when it comes to on-screen um let's see on screen how should I say this sexy times I guess but yeah that's the reason why even with the other issue I had Robin and Marion waking up in bed, but I didn't describe like, oh yes, they sleep naked or something. Like no, you just see like she puts on her kind of like sleeping robe and then throws one at Robin, and it's like, okay, we have to get going. Because most times I think some people can infer like what goes on. So Florida woman knows she doesn't have the writing chops to legitimately do like, oh God, here it comes. Oh, yeah. I don't really do the whole sexy times things as much. There's a whole lot of people out there that probably will do it a lot better, but it also depends on what the writer themselves is really comfortably putting on screen or putting on page if they're drawing, that sort of thing. Me personally, enjoy Fade to Black more than like, oh wow, it's all right there in front of you. Now, Berserk actually does both these things, and then it showcases just how depraved some people are with other things. So yeah, there is that. But I guess in a way it's because the artwork is pretty detailed, but I still find myself kind of like again glossing over some things that I read. It's like, oh, here comes the sexy part. It's like I don't really need this, in terms of like, oh, they're bumping uglies, and the writer's describing it very graphically. I see. Because personally, my setup is like I think the reader can honestly magic up kind of like a more uh let's just say some people have more of a healthy imagination, or I guess. Me personally, I'm just like some of the end results. It basically like, oh look, there's another baby. You know what they were doing, that sort of thing. But yeah, again, it comes down to people's preferences and wheelhouses and whatnot. I personally, yeah, Faded Black, classical kind of more courtly romance, a mixture of seriousness but also a lightheartedness that's kind of playful, kind of like with the irresponsible Captain Tyler, which I think people should really try to watch that because it genuinely is funny. I hope I can get kind of that balance in Uplift Protocol. Honestly, the dogs, the Bardaxians, are a good way for me to get some of that lighter tone in because there will never be enough bacon jokes, not ever. The trick is not to basically plaster it on every single page. I just do it for lulz. But I guess it's kind of like seeing a dad joke every once in a while. It's like, as long as you do it every once in a while, that's fine. It's just different balance. So there you have it, people. A lot of books want to be considered very serious literature, so they'll try to tackle all these big issues of current year.tm, and it ends up kind of falling flat on its face because most of current year stuff usually it might have a month of like, oh my god, gobble gobble gobble, and then it fades, and then it might come back maybe a year later. They're kind of like, you know, the inverse of when a beloved meme comes back. It's like, oh, great, more current year.tm. Uh-huh. Right, this reader doesn't really care. I see people yelling about their social issues all day on many various different medias. So, what does this reader want when it comes to stuff other than the real world? Escapism. I pretty much think that would be pretty obvious by now. Um, but yeah, by honestly, this whole thing has been a useful barometer to see like what kind of things do I prefer in a particular setting or a different setup. Like I have different expectations, say like if it's horror mixed with something. I have different expectations if it's fantasy or if it's science fiction or if it's space opera. Yeah, even with certain kinds of fantasy that are more Conan based, I expect that to have more kind of a grit to it. But the reason why even stuff like the Brutal Saga caught my attention is because it doesn't go to the extreme deep end that Berserk does. Again, like if you're going to have some thematic content that is a lot darker than norm, you gotta have some lighter moments in there somewhere. You gotta have their protagonists hang on to some sort of like internal value or you know whatever their goal is. Like make sure you have a protagonist that's likable enough that you'll want to see them succeed. That's what some of the more um, I would say grimdark things that if I do pick it up and look at it for a while, that's a key component. They genuinely have a likable protagonist that you want to see what happens with them. Like to take, for example, Berserk's Golden Arc thing. I personally loved Jetto the most. He was pretty fun loving. He helped pick up his teammates' spirits half the time. It made the gut punch all that worse, when things went off the rails. But even in a darker setting like Berserk, you have to have likable characters. I'll keep mentioning this till I'm blue in the face, basically. Likable characters are more important than anybody that can be relatable. Fuck relatability. I'm going to be 100% blunt with that. Fuck relatability. Because relatability, in a way, is a crutch. To me, personally. Because then you're trying to pigeonhole, like, if this isn't working out for the character, then it messes up the whole narrative. It's like you're trying to encapsulate something where it's like everybody's screaming at you, oh, that's not how you depict a black man, that's not how you depict a white man, that's not how you depict a woman, that's not how you depict a fat person. That it gets ridiculous. Because in today's day and age, when I think relatability, I think current year woke bingo sheet bullshit. And that's something I definitely don't want in stuff I read. You can have your person be gay, lesbian, whatever, but just realize that some reader preferences will automatically turn them off from that, or they will end up basically like, how are you playing this angle? Is it pertinent to the story? Is it just something to have fun with? Are you going to genuinely make the character a happy person? Because again, majority of the same-sex relationship stuff I see in media and everything else nowadays, they are fucking miserable people. They're miserable protagonists. They're shitheads you don't want to read about, and they complain about current year.tm. And it's like every time I see stuff like that, it's like, nope, I'm gonna just nope, not gonna read this anymore because they aren't even having fun with their own setting. It's like, what the shit? So that's the reason why stuff like Night Terror is like a breath of fresh air, where it's like, yay, he went like the Xena and Gabrielle route, but mixed it with Megamind and made the characters genuinely likable. Holy shit. Wow. Relatability? Fuck off. So I guess that's about it for today, guys. See you later.